Welcome to our Wave 2 Solo Preparation Program. I'm your host, Matthieu Duvault. I am Wave 4 instructor trainer and freediving competitor, and I will guide you throughout the program over 4 weeks. This dry preparation program is tailored to take any beginner freediver, but certified with any freediving agencies, and to prepare you for your upcoming intermediate course. We're gonna go together through breathing techniques, CO2 tolerance, mobility, equalization, and diving techniques. You can expect about 2 hours and 40 minutes of work every week for a total of 10 to 11 hours for the complete duration of the program, the 4 weeks. Alright, now that the presentations are done, let's dive into it. Let's start our day 1 and first session of our base training program. Today we're going to talk about mobility and diving techniques, and more specifically Flutter kick. Flutter kick is the most important and basic diving technique that you will learn while using your fins. Flutter kick is very important for every part of freediving, from safety to performance. It's very important to have a good technique and to feel efficient and comfortable in the water. So let's start with mobility. A good mobility is paramount in mastery of your freediving techniques. Today we're going to cover some different types of stretch and mobility exercises to increase your flexibility and range of motion of your ankles. That will help you for flutter kick, but also for every type of diving technique that we use in the water, from free immersion to no fins to even dolphin kick. The first exercise will be ankle rotation. We're gonna start with some full rotation of the foot, leg extended, trying to reach the full range of motion that you can do. We're gonna do it inward and outward. We're gonna switch leg and do exactly the same thing with the right leg this time. You might hear some type of crackling, but at no point you should feel any pain. And this will be true for every stretching and mobility exercise we're going to do together throughout the duration of this course. We go back to the first leg. Again, the goal here is not to go fast, but to use the whole range of motion that we can have. It's a very good awareness exercise. Alright, now let's work on ankle pointing. So here we keep the same position, but instead of doing rotation, we're gonna do full extension of our ankle, pointing our toes and flexing our feet. And we're gonna alternate like this. Left leg and right leg. Here is the same than the previous exercise. The goal is to reach full range of motion slowly and to build awareness and mobility in motion rather than to go fast and to rush it. And finally now, let's go for some passive stretching for our ankle again on yoga mat and yoga block. So we're gonna start on our yoga mat, knees on the floor, legs parallel and feet slightly parallel, not going inward too much, ankle extended. So you're gonna sit comfortably on your heels. If everything is okay and your mobility allows you to get there, you should feel pretty comfortable. If you start to feel discomfort, you can use your hands on the side of your body to elevate your butt slightly so you release some of the weight of your body weight applied on your ankles. At no point you should feel any pain. Then we're gonna release the tension by doing an invert and tucking our toes. The second part will be exactly the same, but using a yoga block. We're gonna put the block on the yoga mat in the lowest position. We keep exactly the same position with the feet and the legs, and we're gonna sit comfortably on your heels once again. Here, because our knees are slightly elevated, we should feel a little bit more push on the ankle. Same thing, if you feel that it's painful, maybe stick with the first version, which is the more gentle. If it's okay, you can go to the part 3, which will be exactly the same again, but using the yoga block in a higher position. That means that your knees will be more elevated and will create a little bit more stretch on your ankle. Here we are doing simply passive stretching. If that position is pretty comfortable and easy to maintain, we're gonna go for the phase 4, which will be without any use of yoga block. We're gonna put our hands on the side, knees on the yoga mat, same position as the beginning, the part 1, but that time we're gonna elevate our knees to put the whole body weight directly on our ankle and stretch to the maximum that we can do. I will repeat myself, this position should also feel pretty comfortable. You should feel the stretch, but it should not be painful. If it is painful, I suggest you to stick with the previous versions. Alright, I hope you like this mobility and stretching session based on your ankles. Remember, you can practice it as much as you want, and keep in mind that every stretching and mobility exercises are much better to be done a couple of minutes per day or a couple of minutes per week over a long period of time than 1 hour once per month. If you want results, you need to be consistent in your progression. That is the key of success, and that's also basically the key of success in freediving in general. Consistency and repetition is very, very important. Now let's do together a constant weight Bifins technique video analysis to understand better the technique. Alright, so for this first week we're gonna review our technique of constant weight with Bifins. Little reminder, constant weight with Bifins means that you start at the surface, you do a duck dive or dolphin dive, and then you follow the line to the lanyard stopper. You do a turn, then you go back up, always using your fins with the technique of flutter kick. So first, let's watch the video. Very nice. So now let's start to review the technique point by point. First, the relaxation position. Generally facing the water, breathing in your snorkel. You're holding the float with one hand and you try to relax and to breathe through your relaxation phase, tidal breathing. When you're ready to go, you take your chest breath, full inhale, remove the snorkel, and then the idea will be to use your hand or your fins, but very gently, to position yourself slightly forward. So that means that your hips are gonna be in the alignment of the line, and your head is gonna be forward, looking down. The idea here is that when you're gonna start your duck dive and go like this, you're gonna be able to see the line directly. Very nice. Now if I rewind, something that we should never forget is equalization, of course. So when we reach the point where we want to start, we practice one equalization, we point our arms down to prepare for our dolphin dive, we take a second or two to focus, and then duck dive. For the duck dive, we start with a roll over the barrel motion, arms pointing to the bottom, eyes on the line. Then we extend our legs, point our feet to the sky, and start the arm pull, followed by directly one hand on your nose for equalization, the other one beside the body, and the flutter kick starting. We want a rhythm that is pretty calm, though being efficient. We don't want to go as slow as possible, but we don't want to rush. We don't want to sprint either. Here we can see better. So what we want is the line of the body to be parallel with the line, with the real one. We want the hand on the nose, the elbow is tucked, we cannot see from this angle, but it's beside the body, and the other arm relax on the side. Regarding the distance, I like to be personally as close as possible to the dive line without touching it. So then I can see easily little changes in my direction if I'm getting a bit away or a bit too close, but this is very personal. In any way, you want to be at arm reach from the line to be able to stop yourself whenever you need. Then we reach the turn. It's a forward tumble turn. That means that we grab the line at the lanyard stopper and we go that direction. We keep our eyes on the line. We wait for the gravity to bring our legs down, and then we are allowed to do one pull to start our ascent, and we can start kicking with the same pace, nice and relaxed, but efficient. Regarding the body position and the kicking itself, same thing. We want the body to be parallel to the dive line and the kicking to be fairly balanced between front kick and back kick. We also want to keep the leg fairly straight. That means on a front kick, we want to keep the knees fairly straight. We can see that here the diver is bending a little bit, but this is totally acceptable. What is very important is that at the end of the front kick, he is actually finishing the kick. So you see now, the leg is completely straight. Then it's the back kick, where the legs stay completely straight until it's back for another front kick. Another point that is extremely important in flutter kick is your ankle. You need to point your toes at any time. This is the way to use your fins in the most efficient way possible. So when you do a front kick, let's focus on this one. When you do a front kick, it's fairly easy because the water is pushing in that direction, which keep your ankle and your toes pointed. But then when you do a back kick, so we focus again on that leg, then you're creating resistance with the fin. This is why also soft fins are generally more easy to keep good technique. But what we want here when we go that direction is to keep our toes pointed. And this might require a little bit of awareness and exercises. The best way is actually to film yourself and to work in pool. This is where you're gonna have, most of the time, you're gonna have the best condition to be able to work on your finning efficiently. So if we pay attention to the kicking in slow motion, we notice ankle pointed, legs fairly straight, and kicking fairly balanced front kick, back kick, a little bit more on the back. Then we can see that the eyes are looking very neutral to the dive line. We don't want to look down, we want to look straight. We also don't want to look up except at the very end of the dive. The arms are relaxed beside the body, but could also be held in an arrow position. That means like this. The arrow position, in my opinion, it's not really suitable for beginners, except if you really have the mobility. If your body position completely collapses when you hold an arrow position, or if it is tiring for you to hold it, it's better to dive with your arms on the side. Now it's a matter of taste and preference. For recreational freediving, we don't need to hold an arrow position. All right, then we kick up, nice, relax, gentle. At some point, we start to feel the buoyancy starting to push us up. And at this time, we start to prepare for the surface. We can put one arm up, we don't pull, but we just glide following the line here. Then we will stop kicking a couple of meters before the surface, maybe about 5 meters, depending on your buoyancy and the water where you're in. Here is fresh water, you float a little bit less than in salt water. And you just let yourself glide up, and at the last few meters, you want to actually look up here to be able to see if something is on your way. And then we practice our recovery breathing, nice and clear, minimum 3 times, no maximum, whenever you feel good. Then you're gonna look at your body, you're gonna give an okay sign, say, I am okay, and make sure that everything is fine at the end of your dive. So here it is. This is a little review about the technique that is the most useful to know and to practice for constant weight with bifins for wave 1, wave 2 level. So I hope that was useful. Maybe you knew that already, maybe it's a good reminder, maybe you learned new things. But in any way, I will be sure now that your understanding of the flutter kick technique will be on point. So now let's practice some flutter kick dry exercises. The first exercise we're gonna do is flutter kick standing on a step to help with coordination of front kick, back kick, and symmetry between both. Okay, so we're gonna start with holding ourselves on our left leg, right leg, with a little space below to be able to do forward kick and backward kick without touching the floor and pointing our toes the whole way. So for this you can use a stool, a chair, or simply a step, like in this example. We try to have a symmetry between the front kick and the back kick, and we try to activate our muscles consciously, including quads, hamstring, calf, and of course glutes. The second exercise will be to practice simply flutter kick on a yoga mat on your back. Alright, so for this exercise, we're going to hold on our hand just below our back, forearm flat on the ground, and we're going to perform some flutter kick. We're going to keep the leg straight, toes pointed, abs engaged, and we're going to do some series of 10, 15 or 20 repetitions. Little break, and we go again. The goal here is to not bend the knees and to keep our toes pointed and to keep a certain balance between forward and backward and to keep your cat away. And finally, let's practice flutter kick on a ball, belly facing down. Now we're going to do something a little bit similar, but this time we're going to use a yoga ball, or it could be also a little part of a sofa. We're going to hold in front with our hands, and we're going to perform this finning flutter kick, pointing our toes, straight legs, trying to find a balance between forward kick and backward kick. The goal is not to go very wide. What we want for flutter kick is a fairly narrow amplitude with a little bit higher frequency, but it will depend also of the fins you use. We try to perform between 10 to 20 reps. And we go for another one. You should also feel that it's a fairly strong core exercises, and it's normal that you feel your abs burning a little bit, as well as your glutes, your hamstrings, and your quads. And we go for a last series. Try to be consistent in your technique when you perform this kind of exercises. And the goal, remember, it's always to be consistent also in the duration of the exercise and the way you do it and when you do it and how you do it, to be able to get the most out of it. It is indeed very important to understand and visualize properly the right technique to be able to master it and feel more comfortable in the water. Technique is a base of everything. If your technique is right, your relaxation will be better, your equalization will be better, your urge to breathe will be better. It's very useful and very important to spend a little bit of work in the beginning, getting the right technique and the right movements, being aware of what you do and how, to then have the payoff in the future of your freediving progression. All right, I hope you liked it, I hope you learned stuff and you had fun practicing some freediving technique with me. I see you tomorrow for the next part of the program. Have a nice rest and see you tomorrow.